The emotional secret. Most cat owners never notice. There are moments when sadness changes the entire atmosphere inside a house. The room becomes quieter, your movements become slower, even your breathing feels heavier. Most people around you never notice these changes immediately, but your cat often does. That is the part almost nobody talks about. You sit alone trying to escape your thoughts for a few minutes, and suddenly your cat appears beside you without being called. He jumps onto the bed. He stares at you in complete silence. Sometimes he presses his body against your chest or curls up close to your head as if he senses something invisible happening inside you. And the strange part is that this usually happens during the moments when you feel emotionally exhausted the most. Most people grow up hearing that cats are distant animals, independent, cold, emotionally detached from humans. But specialists in feline behavior explain something very different. Cats are constantly observing emotional patterns inside their environment. They notice routines, body language, energy shifts, voice tone, facial expressions, and even changes in human scent caused by stress and sadness. Your cat may not understand what depression is, but he understands that something inside you has changed. Researchers who study animal behavior observed that cats become highly alert when their owners suddenly behave differently. When a person becomes quieter, isolates themselves more, cries often, or loses normal daily energy, many cats begin changing their own behavior too. Some become more attached, some begin following their owners from room to room, some start sleeping closer than usual, and some simply sit nearby in silence, watching carefully as if they are guarding someone emotionally wounded. What makes this so emotionally is that cats do not comfort humans the way people do. They do not ask questions. They do not give advice. They stay present, silently, patiently, almost like they understand that certain pain cannot be explained with words. Animal behavior experts explain that cats survived for centuries by learning to detect subtle emotional and physical changes around them. In the wild, noticing weakness, fear, stress, or behavioral shifts could mean survival. Even inside modern homes, that instinct still exists deep inside them. Your cat is constantly studying you without you realizing it, watching your routine, your energy, your silence, comparing who you are today with who you normally are. And when something feels wrong, many cats respond in ways that most owners completely misunderstand. What looks like clinginess may actually be emotional monitoring. What looks like strange behavior may actually be concern. What looks like your cat simply wanting attention may secretly be his attempt to stay close to you during your darkest moments. And once you begin noticing these signs, something almost heartbreaking starts happening. You realize your cat may have recognized your emotional pain long before the rest of the world did. Why your cat stares at you in silence when you're sad? One of the most uncomfortable things a cat can do is stare at you without moving. No sound, no blinking. Just silent observation. And strangely, many people notice this behavior becoming more intense during periods of sadness, emotional exhaustion, or depression. You sit quietly on the couch after a difficult day, and your cat is already there watching you from across the room. You wake up feeling emotionally empty, and somehow your cat is staring directly into your face before you even get out of bed. At first, it feels random, almost eerie, but feline behavior specialists explain that this kind of silent observation often has a deeper meaning. Cats are extremely attentive animals. Researchers observed that they constantly monitor patterns inside their environment, especially the behavior of the humans they trust most. Your cat memorizes your normal routine without you realizing it. The way you walk through the house, the energy in your voice, the speed of your movements, the hours you usually wake up, even the way you breathe when you are calm. And when those patterns suddenly change, your cat notices immediately. Depression and emotional pain often create subtle physical changes in people. The body moves differently. Facial expressions become heavier, reactions become slower, silence becomes more frequent. Scientists studying animal behavior explain that cats are highly sensitive to these emotional shifts because their survival instincts evolved around detecting vulnerability and behavioral changes around them. That stare is not always curiosity. Sometimes it is observation, sometimes it is emotional monitoring. Your cat is trying to understand what is happening to you. What makes this behavior feel almost human is the silence behind it. Dogs often react emotionally in loud and obvious ways. Cats are different. They observe first, they study. They remain still while collecting information about your emotional state. And many cat owners describe something deeply unsettling during difficult moments in life. Their cat starts looking at them differently. Longer stares, closer eye contact, more silent presence. Almost as if the cat senses an invisible weight surrounding the person. Animal behavior experts explain that direct observation is one of the ways cats stay emotionally connected to individuals they trust. In feline social behavior, watching another member of the group closely can represent awareness, protection, and emotional attention. Your cat may not understand your thoughts, but he understands your emotional energy has changed. And this is where the behavior becomes deeply emotional. Because sometimes your cat is not staring at you to demand food or attention. Sometimes he is checking if you are okay. Sometimes he stays nearby, watching silently because your sadness changed the entire emotional atmosphere around you. And he can feel it. And the next behavior becomes even more powerful. Because many cats stop observing from a distance and begin doing something far more intimate. They start sleeping closer to you than ever before. The real reason your cat sleeps closer to you during hard times, many people notice the same strange pattern during emotionally painful periods. Their cat suddenly starts sleeping closer than usual. A cat that normally stays at the foot of the bed suddenly begins sleeping near the chest, near the head, pressed against the legs. Sometimes the cat refuses to leave the room entirely. And what makes this behavior feel so emotional is that it often appears during the exact moments when the owner feels mentally exhausted, anxious, isolated, or emotionally broken. Most people assume the cat simply wants warmth or comfort. But feline behavior specialists explain there may be something much deeper happening. Cats are highly sensitive to emotional environments. Researchers observed that they constantly adjust their social distance depending on trust, safety, and emotional stability around them. In the wild, sleeping close to another living being was never a random decision. It represented security, protection, and awareness. That instinct still exists inside domestic cats today. When your emotional state changes, your cat notices changes in your routine, body language, sleep patterns, movement, and even body temperature. Studies involving animal behavior suggest that stress and sadness can subtly affect breathing, rhythm, physical energy, and scent signals released by the human body. Your cat may not consciously understand these changes, but instinctively, he reacts to them. And one of the strongest feline reactions to emotional vulnerability is physical proximity. That is why some cats suddenly become more attached during difficult moments in life. They sleep closer, stay longer beside you. Choose your bed instead of another room. Sometimes they even reposition themselves during the night just to maintain contact with your body. What makes this so powerful is that cats rarely waste energy unnecessarily. Unlike humans, they do not seek emotional closeness out of obligation or social expectation. When a cat repeatedly chooses to remain physically close to someone, especially during moments of emotional instability, it often reflects trust and emotional awareness. And there is another detail most people never notice. The sound of a cat purring against the human body can create a calming effect that many owners feel almost immediately. Researchers studying feline vibrations observed that purring frequencies may help reduce stress and create sensations of emotional comfort and relaxation. This may explain why many people feel calmer simply by lying next to a peaceful cat. Your cat does not know how to solve your problems. He cannot remove emotional pain from your mind, but sometimes he responds to your suffering the only way his instincts allow him to, by staying close enough so you do not feel completely alone. And for many people struggling emotionally, that silent presence becomes more comforting than words. Because there are moments when sadness makes human conversation exhausting. Advice becomes empty, noise becomes unbearable. But a cat quietly sleeping beside you asks for nothing. No explanations, no masks, no pretending, just presence. And once your cat begins staying physically close to you during hard times, another behavior often starts appearing right after it. He begins following you everywhere. Why your cat follows you everywhere when you feel empty. There are periods in life when even getting up feels heavy. You walk slowly through the house without energy, trying to survive your own thoughts in silence. And during moments like these, many cats begin doing something their owners cannot explain. They start following everywhere. To the kitchen, to the bathroom, to the bedroom, back to the couch, back to the hallway. You turn around, and somehow your cat is always there quietly, watching from nearby. At first, it feels strange, almost excessive. Some people even believe the cat suddenly became needy or dependent. But experts in feline behavior explain that this behavior often has very little to do with attention seeking. It has to do with monitoring. Cats are animals deeply connected to routine and environmental stability. Researchers observed that when the emotional behavior of a trusted human suddenly changes, many cats become more alert and attentive. Depression often changes the rhythm of everyday life in ways people do not even notice themselves. Sleeping at different hours, moving less, speaking less, remaining still for long periods, losing interest in normal activities, your cat notices all of it. And because cats naturally monitor changes inside their territory, some begin following their owners more intensely during emotionally difficult periods, not out of control, out of awareness. What makes this behavior emotionally powerful is the silence behind it. Your cat usually is not demanding interaction while following you. He is not constantly meowing or forcing attention. He simply stays nearby, watching, observing your movements from room to room as if he feels uncomfortable leaving you alone for too long. Animal behavior specialists explain that some cats enter a form of social vigilance when they detect instability in someone they trust. In feline social groups, remaining close to another member during vulnerable moments can be connected to protection and environmental awareness. That instinct still exists inside domestic cats. And many owners notice something deeply emotional during periods of sadness. Their cat begins appearing before they even call for him, as if he already knows where they are going, as if he senses the emotional isolation before it fully takes over. There's another detail that makes this behavior even more heartbreaking. Cats usually value independence. They enjoy controlling their own space, choosing when to interact, and disappearing when they want silence. So, when a cat repeatedly abandons his own comfort just to remain close to one person, that behavior carries emotional weight, especially when it only happens during difficult emotional phases. Your cat may not understand depression the way humans define it, but he understands something feels wrong inside his world, because you are part of his world. And sometimes following you quietly from room to room is his way of making sure you are still there, still moving, still okay. But the next behavior becomes even more surprising, because some cats stop simply observing sadness and start trying to interrupt it directly. The strange way cats try to interrupt your sadness. One of the most misunderstood things cats do during emotionally difficult moments is suddenly becoming disruptive. They knock objects off tables, walk across your phone while you are staring at the screen, sit directly on your laptop, meow louder than usual, scratch doors, jump onto your chest the moment you try isolating yourself, and most people react the same way. They assume the cat is being annoying, demanding, attention-seeking, but researchers who study feline behavior observed something extremely interesting about cats living with emotionally stressed humans. Many cats increase interaction attempts when they detect long periods of emotional stillness, silence, or isolation from their owners. In other words, your cat may actually be trying to interrupt the emotional state you are trapped inside. Depression often creates emotional paralysis. People stop moving, stop reacting, stop engaging with the world around them. Hours pass in silence without energy or stimulation. And inside that silence, your cat notices something important. You are no longer behaving like yourself. For a cat, prolonged stillness can feel abnormal. In nature, unusual inactivity may signal weakness, sickness, or danger. Animal behavior specialists explain that domestic cats still carry these survival instincts deeply rooted inside them. When their trusted human suddenly becomes emotionally withdrawn, some cats respond by forcing interaction back into the environment. That explains why certain cats become strangely persistent during sad moments. They interrupt your crying, push against your hands, demand movement, force eye contact, create noise inside silent rooms. And the incredible part is that many owners later realize these behaviors happened exactly during their worst emotional periods. Not randomly, repeatedly. Some cats even learn patterns connected to sadness without their owners noticing. They begin associating specific behaviors with emotional pain. Staying in bed too long, sitting in darkness, crying quietly, remaining motionless, staring into space. And once those patterns appear, the cat suddenly creates some kind of interruption, a sound, a touch, a movement, almost as if he refuses to let the emotional silence completely consume the room. What makes this behavior so emotional is that cats do not comfort humans, like therapists or friends. They comfort through presence, interruption, and instinctive reactions. Their methods are primitive compared to human communication, but sometimes incredibly powerful. Because during emotional pain, even the smallest interruption can momentarily pull someone out of darkness. A cat knocking something onto the floor may seem meaningless, until you realize it happened right when you stopped responding to the world around you. Experts in animal behavior explain that many cats develop highly adaptive emotional responses toward the humans they trust most. The cat may not consciously think, "My owner is depressed," but instinctively, he recognizes emotional imbalance inside the environment and reacts to it. And sometimes those reactions look messy, chaotic, unexpected. But hidden underneath them is something deeply moving. Your cat may be trying to bring you back into the present moment. And the next behavior becomes even more emotional. Because after interrupting your sadness, many cats choose to do something completely different. They simply sit beside you in silence. Why your cat sits in complete silence next to you. One of the deepest forms of comfort a cat can offer is also the quietest one. No meowing, no movement, no demand for attention, just silent presence. There are moments when emotional pain becomes so overwhelming that even conversation feels exhausting. You stop answering messages, you stop explaining how you feel. Sometimes you just sit there in silence trying to survive your own thoughts. And during those moments, many cats begin doing something almost hauntingly gentle. They simply sit beside you. Not on you, not asking for food, not trying to play. Just staying there quietly as if they understand that words are no longer useful. What makes this behavior so emotional is that cats are naturally selective with their energy. They rarely stay close to something that makes them uncomfortable for long periods of time. If a cat chooses to remain beside someone who is emotionally distressed, especially without demanding anything in return, that decision carries meaning. Researchers who study feline social behavior explain that cats often communicate emotional safety through proximity alone. In feline relationships, .com presence can represent trust, peace, and social bonding. Unlike humans, cats do not always rely on active interaction to create connection. Sometimes staying is the connection, and many people struggling with sadness describe the exact same experience. They are crying quietly in bed, and their cat jumps up beside them without making a sound. They sit alone in darkness, and the cat quietly settles nearby. They feel emotionally numb, disconnected from everything around them. Yet somehow the cat remains there for hours doing absolutely nothing except sharing the space. That silence affects people more deeply than they expect, because human comfort often comes with pressure, questions, advice, expectations. But a cat offers something completely different: presence without demands. Experts in animal behavior explain that many cats become calmer and less active when they detect emotional distress in trusted humans. Instead of overstimulating the environment, they lower their own energy and remain physically available nearby. It is almost as if the cat instinctively understands that emotional pain sometimes needs calm instead of noise. And this is where many owners suddenly begin seeing their cats differently, not as distant animals, not as indifferent pets, but as silent emotional companions. There is another reason this behavior feels so powerful during depression or emotional exhaustion. Sadness often creates isolation. People begin feeling emotionally disconnected from the world around them. And during those moments, even silent company can become psychologically comforting. Your cat may not understand your memories, your fears, your emotional battles, but he notices your silence becoming heavier. And instead of abandoning you during those moments, he chooses to remain there beside you without asking for explanations. Almost like a quiet guardian refusing to let you disappear completely into your own mind. And for many people, that silent companionship becomes one of the most comforting feelings they experience during difficult periods in life. But after spending time silently beside you, many cats begin expressing comfort in an even more physical way. They start touching you more than usual. The hidden reason your cat touches you more during emotional pain? There are moments when emotional pain becomes so heavy that even silence starts feeling unbearable. And strangely, during these periods, many cats begin increasing physical contact in ways their owners immediately notice. A cat that usually sleeps alone suddenly climbs onto your chest. A paw gently touches your arm while you lie in bed staring at the ceiling. A head presses softly against your face. The cat rubs against your legs repeatedly while you walk through the house without energy. At first, these gestures seem small, ordinary, but experts in feline behavior explain that physical touch is one of the strongest emotional communication tools cats possess. Cats do not touch everything casually. In feline social behavior, physical contact usually represents trust, familiarity, and emotional bonding. Researchers observed that cats use touch to strengthen safe social connections, especially with individuals they feel emotionally attached to. And during periods of sadness or emotional exhaustion, many cats increase these behaviors instinctively. One of the most emotional examples is headbutting. When a cat presses his forehead against you slowly and deliberately, most people think it is simply affection. But animal behavior specialists explain that this action is deeply connected to comfort and emotional marking. Cats have scent glands around their faces, and when they rub against someone, they are reinforcing familiarity and emotional connection. In simple terms, your cat is saying, "You are part of my safe space." And during emotional pain, some cats seem almost determined to repeat that message physically. Another behavior that becomes incredibly powerful is when a cat chooses to lie directly on the chest or lap of someone emotionally distressed. Studies involving animal interaction suggest that rhythmic touch, warmth, and the sound of purring may help lower stress levels and create calming sensations inside the human nervous system. That is why so many people describe feeling temporary emotional relief the moment their cat curls up against them. Not because the sadness disappears, but because the body finally feels comforted for a moment. And cats seem to sense this effect naturally. Some begin purring intensely while maintaining physical contact. Others place a paw gently on their owner as if checking for response. Some refuse to break body contact entirely during difficult emotional moments. What makes this behavior so heartbreaking is that cats usually respect personal space intensely. They are independent creatures by nature. So when a cat repeatedly seeks physical closeness during moments of emotional vulnerability, it often reflects a strong instinctive response to the emotional atmosphere around their human. Your cat may not understand why your eyes look tired, why your energy disappeared, why your body remains still for hours, but he understands something inside you feels different. And sometimes touch becomes his silent way of trying to reconnect you to safety, warmth, and presence again. Not through words, not through explanations, through contact. And the next behavior becomes even more emotional, because some cats eventually reach a point where they refuse to leave their owner alone at all. When your cat refuses to leave you alone, there are emotional moments when a cat's behavior stops feeling like coincidence completely. You close the bathroom door, and your cat waits outside. You move to another room trying to isolate yourself, and minutes later, he appears silently beside you again. You wake up during the night feeling emotionally overwhelmed, and somehow your cat is already there watching you from the edge of the bed. For many people dealing with depression, loneliness, or emotional exhaustion, this becomes one of the most unforgettable behaviors their cat ever shows, because it starts feeling intentional, almost protective. Animal behavior specialists explain that cats are far more aware of emotional routine changes than most people realize. Researchers observed that domestic cats closely monitor the daily patterns of the humans they trust most. They learn schedules, emotional rhythms, sleep cycles, movement habits, and social behaviors over time. So when those patterns suddenly collapse, your cat notices immediately. And some cats respond by refusing distance. What makes this behavior emotionally intense is that cats are naturally territorial and independent creatures. They usually enjoy controlling their own space and choosing when interaction happens. That is why it feels so unusual when a cat suddenly begins staying near someone almost constantly during emotionally difficult periods. Following them, waiting for them, watching them, sleeping near doors, remaining nearby even without interaction. Experts in feline social behavior explain that some cats develop what researchers describe as proximity-seeking behavior during periods of instability inside the home. In simple terms, the cat becomes more emotionally alert and physically present around the person whose behavior suddenly changed. And depression changes behavior dramatically. People isolate themselves, cry quietly, stay in bed longer, move less, speak less, disappear emotionally from the environment around them. Your cat may not understand the reason behind these changes, but instinctively, he understands something feels wrong. That is why some cats become unusually attached during emotionally painful periods. Not because they suddenly became dependent, but because their instincts are reacting to vulnerability inside their environment. And many cat owners describe something deeply heartbreaking. Their cats seem to know exactly when things were at their worst. Some cats appear moments before emotional breakdowns. Some refuse to leave the side of owners who are crying. Some become more alert whenever the person isolates themselves behind closed doors. Others begin sleeping outside bedrooms or bathrooms as if standing guard silently through the night. Researchers studying animal relationships explain that cats can become emotionally conditioned to the distress signals of the humans they trust. Changes in breathing, crying, posture, silence, and movement all create patterns the cat slowly learns to recognize, and once those patterns become familiar, some cats respond with constant presence, not dramatic affection, not loud reactions, just refusal to abandon the person emotionally. That is what makes this behavior so powerful, because during depression, one of the most painful feelings is believing nobody notices your suffering anymore. Yet your cat keeps appearing beside you over and over again, as if he senses something inside you is struggling to survive. And the final behavior becomes the most emotional of all, because many cats react in deeply heartbreaking ways when they see their owners cry. The heartbreaking thing your cat feels when you cry: there are moments when sadness stops being quiet inside you and begins to show on the outside. Tears, a broken voice, a body that stops reacting to the world. And in those moments, something subtle often happens that many people remember but rarely understand. Their cat changes. When a person cries, especially in silence or emotional isolation, the entire atmosphere of the room shifts. Your breathing becomes irregular, your posture collapses, your energy becomes inconsistent, and your cat, who has been observing you for days, weeks, or even years, suddenly reacts to something that feels deeply unfamiliar. Researchers who study feline behavior at institutions such as university animal cognition labs have observed that cats are highly sensitive to vocal tone, changes, and physiological stress signals in humans. Even without understanding human emotions as concepts, they respond strongly to variations in sound frequency, movement patterns, and chemical changes released by the body during stress. So when you cry, your cat is not just seeing tears. He is experiencing a complete change in your emotional state. Many cat owners describe a very specific reaction. Some cats slowly approach without hesitation, stopping just a short distance away, as if assessing the situation. Others immediately climb onto the bed or sofa and sit close, watching carefully. Some begin rubbing against the person repeatedly, while others simply stay still and alert, refusing to leave the room. But what makes this behavior truly emotional is what happens next. Some cats begin to purr softly while observing their owner crying. Animal behavior experts suggest that purring is not only a sign of comfort, but may also function as a self-soothing mechanism that creates calm environments for both the cat and the human nearby. Studies in bioacoustics have shown that low-frequency vibrations produced during purring can have calming effects on stress responses in mammals. In simple terms, your cat may be trying to stabilize the emotional environment around you in the only way he knows how. Not through understanding your sadness, but through presence, sound, and physical proximity. Other cats react differently. Some become unusually attentive following the crying owner from room to room. Some gently touch their owner's face or hands, almost as if trying to interrupt the emotional spiral. And some simply stay very close, watching with a level of focus that feels almost human. What is deeply heartbreaking is that cats do not look away easily during these moments. They often remain present, observing the emotional breakdown without escaping it, as if something inside them recognizes that this moment is important, even if they do not fully understand why. Experts in animal cognition explain that domesticated cats build strong emotional mapping of their owners over time. They learn what normal looks like, and when that normal disappears into crying, stillness, or emotional collapse, the cat detects it as a significant disruption in the human's usual state. And their response is not avoidance. It is closeness, presence, sometimes even insistence on staying near. Because in the feline world, staying close to a distressed companion can be linked to social bonding and environmental awareness. Even though cats are independent animals, their relationships with trusted humans often develop into a form of emotional synchronization. So when you cry, your cat may not understand the reason behind it, but he understands something has changed inside you in a way that matters. And instead of leaving, he often chooses to stay quietly, carefully, as if your pain is not something to fix, but something to accompany. And that is where the most powerful realization of all appears, because many people only notice later that during their darkest emotional moments, their cat was almost always there, not solving anything, not speaking, just refusing to let them disappear completely into their own sadness. There is something most people never realize about videos like this. The real power is not just in explaining cat behavior. It is in how deeply the viewer begins to recognize themselves inside every single example. Because when someone is emotionally vulnerable, their attention becomes more sensitive. They are not just watching content, they are searching for meaning in it. That is why each behavior in this video must follow a very specific emotional pattern. It starts with a situation the viewer has lived before, a moment of sadness, isolation, or emotional exhaustion that feels familiar without needing explanation. Then it reveals a behavior from the cat that seems small on the surface, but carries a deeper emotional meaning underneath. And finally, it connects that behavior back to the emotional state of the human in a way that creates recognition, not theory, recognition. Researchers in behavioral psychology explain that humans are far more likely to stay engaged when they feel personally reflected in what they are consuming. This is especially true during emotionally sensitive states. When the brain naturally searches for connection, comfort, and understanding, that is exactly what this video does. It transforms simple cat behavior into emotional mirrors. Every section should make the viewer think one thing without being told directly. My cat does this. And that thought is what keeps attention alive. But there is something even more powerful happening underneath. As the viewer progresses through each behavior, they begin to reinterpret past moments with their cat. A time the cat stared too long, a night it refused to leave, a moment it interrupted sadness without warning. Suddenly, those memories are no longer random. They start to feel meaningful, intentional, emotionally connected. And this is where retention becomes natural, not forced, because the viewer is no longer just learning, they are remembering. To maximize emotional impact, each topic should increase in intimacy. From distance observation, to proximity, to touch, to presence, to emotional response. Each layer should feel closer to the human experience until the final realization becomes unavoidable. That realization is simple but powerful. Your cat is not just living beside you, he is responding to you. Not with language, not with logic, but with presence shaped by instinct, memory, and emotional awareness. And when the video reaches its final moments, the viewer should not feel like they just learned about cats. They should feel like they understood their own relationship in a completely new way, because that is what makes this structure effective. It does not just explain behavior, it changes perception. And once perception changes, the way someone sees their cat will never go back to what it was before.